He threatened me! Arrest him!
Chief, the evidence is clear. Proceed by policy.
Ma'am, turn around.
You think this little place makes you somebody? Linda Mercer screamed, and the next second, the front window of Carter Fuel exploded across the floor. Glass burst inward like ice under a hammer. A woman at pump 3 dropped her coffee. A delivery driver froze with a nozzle still in his hand. Behind the counter, Malik Carter flinched so hard his shoulder hit the cigarette display. Elijah Carter did not move toward Linda. He did not shout. He did not raise a hand. He stood behind the register in his faded gray work shirt, dark oil near one cuff, deep brown skin catching the noon light through the broken window, and looked at the glass scattered around the worn rubber mat where his father used to stand. Linda pointed the metal squeegee handle at him like she had won something. That is what happens when you forget your place. The gas station went quiet except for the soft clicking of pump numbers outside. Carter Fuel sat on the corner of Mason and 3rd, a small family station with faded red signs, a cracked ice machine, 2 security cameras under the canopy, and a framed photograph of Elijah's father beside the register. It was not fancy. It was not new, but every shelf was clean. Every pump worked. Every old neighbor who needed $5 of gas until payday knew Elijah would not embarrass them for asking. That was the place Linda had just broken because he refused to give her free gas. Elijah's eyes moved from the shattered window to Malik. Do not touch the glass. His voice was low, steady. Malik blinked. Uncle Elijah, do not touch it, Elijah said again. Preserve the scene. Linda laughed, so sharply a man near the soda cooler looked away. Preserve the scene? Listen to him. He sells gum and motor oil and thinks he's running a courtroom. A few customers shifted their weight. Nobody stepped between them. Nobody wanted Linda Mercer's anger pointed their way. She lived 2 blocks over in the big white house with the iron mailbox. She chaired the neighborhood association. She knew every council member by first name and used their names like keys. To her, Elijah was not a business owner. He was the man behind the counter. The man who should smile when she demanded. The man who should bend because people like her were used to doors opening. I told you last week, she snapped. My husband helped get this street repaved. The least you can do is calm my gas. Elijah looked at the pump monitor. You filled $42.18. So, everyone be. Not everyone built this neighborhood. Elijah let that sit. His jaw tightened once, then relaxed. He reached for the receipt printer and pressed one button. The machine spat out the paper with a thin, accusing whine. Pump 4. 42.18. Time stamped. Linda's face reddened. The customers heard it. The delivery driver at pump 2 lowered his eyes. Mrs. Evelyn Ross, an older woman with a cane and a floral scarf, took one careful step forward. Linda, baby, you broke his window. Just pay the man and go home. For one small breath, the truth had a voice. Linda turned on her. Stay out of this, Evelyn. You always did like taking in strays. Mrs. Ross stopped. Her hand tightened on her cane. The room shrank around the insult. Elijah looked at her gently. Mrs. Ross, please step away from the glass. He was protecting her while he was the one being humiliated. Have you ever watched someone stay calm, not because they were weak, but because they knew anger would be used as evidence against them? Linda saw the calm and hated it. She wanted him loud. She wanted him shaking. She wanted him to become the danger she had already decided he was. Instead, Elijah looked up at the black dome camera above the coffee station, then at the second camera under the canopy. His eyes measured angles, distance, sound, not panic, procedure. Malik noticed. So did Tyler Benson, a skinny 15-year-old near the chips rack, who slowly lifted his phone from his hoodie pocket. Linda saw Tyler's movement and snapped, "Put that down." Tyler froze. "I was not," I said, "put it down." His phone dropped to his side. Another witness swallowed by fear. Linda reached into her purse and pulled out her own phone. Her voice changed before she even dialed, softer now, rehearsed and wounded. "I'm calling the police." Malik stepped around the counter. "Good. Tell them you smashed the window." Elijah lifted one hand, stopping him without touching him. "Stay behind the counter." "But Uncle Elijah," behind the counter. Linda smiled. "Smart. Teach the boy obedience. Elijah's fingers curled once against the edge of the register. Beside his hand sat his father's photograph, the old frame nicked at the corner. Behind it, half hidden in the drawer Malik had opened that morning, lay a cream-colored envelope with the city seal facing down. Elijah slid the drawer shut with 2 fingers before anyone could see. Linda raised the phone to her ear. "Yes, I need police at Carter Fuel. The owner is threatening me." The line moved through the broken window and settled over the room like smoke. Customers looked at Elijah differently now, not because they believed her completely, because a police call changes the shape of a black man in a public place. Elijah said nothing. He picked up the receipt with 2 fingers and placed it beside the register, far from the glass. Linda turned her back to him and raised her voice for the dispatcher. "He is angry. He is acting unstable. I am afraid he may hurt someone." Malik's face went pale. Mrs. Ross whispered, "Lord, no." Elijah looked up at the camera again. Its red light blinked once. Then his phone, locked inside the drawer beneath the hidden envelope, began to buzz against the wood, over and over, as the first distant siren rose somewhere down Mason Street. The siren grew louder while the phone kept buzzing inside the drawer. Every vibration tapped against the hidden cream envelope like a warning. Linda Mercer stood near the broken window with one hand pressed dramatically to her chest, performing fear for the dispatcher and the watching customers. "Please hurry," she said into the phone. "He is staring at me. I do not feel safe." Elijah Carter kept his hands where everyone could see them. One rested near the receipt. The other stayed flat on the counter, inches from his father's photograph. The room smelled of gasoline, old coffee, and fresh panic. Malik stood behind the register, his face pale, his eyes moving from the shattered glass to his uncle. "Why is she saying that?" he whispered. Elijah did not answer right away. He looked at the red light on the camera above the coffee station, then at the second camera outside under the canopy. Because some people learn early that a lie sounds louder when it is spoken into a phone. 3 hours earlier, before the glass, before Linda's scream, Carter Fuel had opened in the quiet blue light before sunrise. Elijah had unlocked the front door at 5:12 a.m., same as his father had done for 28 years. He turned on the pumps, checked the coffee machine, wiped the counter twice, and straightened the small frame beside the register. In the photograph, his father, Samuel Carter, stood in front of the station on opening day, wearing a clean work shirt and the tired smile of a man who had borrowed against everything he owned. On the back of the frame was a note Samuel had written in black marker. "Serve people like they are somebody, even when they forget you are." Elijah touched that sentence every morning. Not for luck, for memory. The station was not just a business. It was the place his mother learned to read invoices after midnight. It was where Samuel let broke neighbors pay Friday for gas they needed Monday. It was where Elijah, at 14, learned that dignity could wear work boots and still stand tall. Malik arrived before school with a backpack over one shoulder and sleep still in his eyes. "Uncle E, you want to stock the cooler?" After breakfast, Elijah slid a foil-wrapped egg sandwich across the counter. "You cannot learn on an empty stomach." Malik smiled, but then saw the stack of bills near the register. Insurance, new pump inspection, property tax, a repair estimate for the old freezer. "We okay?" he asked. Elijah folded the papers slowly. "We are working." That was how he carried worry. Not by handing it to a boy, not by letting it bend his voice. In the drawer beneath the register lay the cream-colored envelope from the city, still unopened in front of Malik, though Elijah had read the message the night before. Beside it was a small dark credential wallet he had not shown anyone in the station. He closed the drawer when Malik looked too long. "Some things wait until the right hour," he said. If you have ever seen someone judged by their work shirt, their tired eyes, their skin, or the place they stand behind a counter, then you know how heavy silence can become when the wrong person decides they own the room. Back in the present, Mrs. Evelyn Ross took one careful step toward the receipt. Her fingers trembled over the paper. For a moment, it looked like she might pick it up and say what everyone had seen. Linda cut her eyes toward the old woman. "Evelyn, if you touch anything, I will tell the police you helped him tamper with evidence." Mrs. Ross froze. The receipt stayed on the counter, small and white, proof too fragile for a room full of fear. Outside, the first patrol car turned into the lot. Its red and blue lights swept across the broken glass, across Malik's scared face, across Elijah's calm hands. Linda lowered her phone and smiled like rescue had arrived for her alone. Elijah opened the drawer just enough to silence his buzzing phone. The cream envelope shifted, and for 1 second the city seal caught the light. Malik saw it. So did Linda. Her smile sharpened. "What is that?" she asked. Before Elijah could close the drawer, the patrol car door opened outside, and an officer stepped out into the sunlight. Officer Daniel Ruiz stepped out first, one hand resting near his belt, the other adjusting the body camera clipped to his chest. Officer Hannah Pike came around the passenger side, eyes already moving from the broken glass to Linda Mercer, then to Elijah Carter behind the counter. The red and blue lights swept over Carter Fuel in slow waves, making the little station look like a crime scene before anyone had asked the first honest question. Linda hurried outside to meet them, heels crunching near the edge of the glass. "Thank God," she said, loud enough for the customers to hear. "He lost control. He scared me half to death." Elijah stayed where he was, hands visible, shoulders square, deep brown face calm under the fluorescent lights. His work shirt was faded at the collar, the kind of shirt people stopped seeing once they decided the man wearing it was only there to serve them. Malik stood behind him, trying to look brave and failing. Across the room, Mrs. Evelyn Ross watched the receipt like it was a candle in a storm. Ruiz lifted his hand. "Everyone stay where you are." Linda pointed through the broken window. "Start with him." Pike looked at Elijah. "Sir, did you break this glass?" Malik burst out. "She did." Linda snapped. "That boy works for him." Her voice made the word works sound like guilt. A delivery driver near the door whispered, "Maybe the cameras got it." Linda heard him. "Maybe people should stop recording and let police do their job." Tyler Benson lowered his phone again, but not before his thumb moved once across the screen. Elijah noticed. So did Malik. Micro hope, small as a spark under rain. This was not the first time Carter Fuel had watched the world misjudge a black man behind its counter. Years before, men in suits from the bank had walked in and asked Samuel Carter if the owner was available while Samuel stood under his own sign. A city inspector once called Elijah the attendant while handing him violation papers addressed to Mr. Carter. Customers had tossed keys at him, snapped fingers at him, called him buddy, chief boy, boss, anything except his name. Elijah had learned to answer without bending. His father used to say, "Let them underestimate your clothes. Never let them underestimate your record." That memory sat in Elijah's chest now, heavy but useful. Ruiz stepped inside, careful around the glass. "Sir, your name?" Elijah met his eyes. "Elijah Carter." Ruiz's expression flickered. Just once. Not enough for the room to understand. Enough for Linda to notice and hate it. "He is trying to sound calm," she said. "That is what people do when they know they are wrong." Elijah reached slowly toward the receipt, using 2 fingers. "Pump 4, 4218. Printed before the window broke." Pike's eyes dropped to it. "Do not touch that," Linda snapped. "It is evidence." Elijah looked at her. "That is why I moved it away from the glass." The room went quiet. Pike glanced at Ruiz. Ruiz glanced at the camera dome above the coffee station. He saw the angle. He saw the second camera outside. He saw the drawer behind Elijah, still not fully closed, the city seal barely visible through the gap. "You have footage?" Ruiz asked. Elijah answered, 2 angles. Interior audio may be partial. Exterior shows the strike. Malik stared at his uncle. Mrs. Ross inhaled softly. That was not how a frightened shopkeeper talked. That was how someone spoke who understood what evidence had to survive. Linda clapped once, sharp and fake. "Wonderful. Now he's a lawyer too." She moved closer to Ruiz, lowering her voice just enough to make it poisonous. "Officer, people around here have been dealing with his attitude for years." A few customers looked away. The old habit returned. Believe the loudest person. Fear the person with connections. Treat the man in work clothes like the problem. Then Linda pointed at the drawer. "And he is hiding something. I saw a city envelope. Open it." Malik stepped in front of the register. You cannot just go through our things. Linda smiled. If he has nothing to hide, why is everyone so nervous? Ruiz looked from Linda to Elijah. For a moment, it seemed like he might ask the right question. Then his radio crackled, and a dispatcher's voice cut through the room. Unit 12, caller states subject may be concealing official documents and acting unstable. Linda's eyes brightened. The lie had grown legs. Pike's hand moved toward her notepad. Tyler stopped recording. Mrs. Ross lowered her gaze. Ruiz turned fully toward Elijah and said, Mr. Carter, step out from behind the counter where we can see you. Elijah looked at Malik, then at the receipt, then at the half-closed drawer with the city seal still showing. He stepped forward slowly, leaving the one thing that could explain everything just out of reach. Elijah stepped out from behind the counter slowly, both hands open, palms visible, leaving the receipt, the drawer, and the city envelope behind him. The floor crunched under his work boots, tiny pieces of glass shifting like broken ice. Officer Ruiz watched his hands. Officer Pike watched Linda. Everyone else watched the space between a black man in a faded work shirt, and the police officers called to believe the worst about him. Stop right there, Linda said, as if she had a badge too. Do not let him get near that drawer. Elijah stopped before Ruiz asked him to. For safety and evidence preservation, nobody should open that drawer until it is logged. Ruiz's eyes moved to Elijah's face. Logged? If you are treating this as a reported threat, property damage, and possible false statement, the scene has to be separated. Broken glass first. Receipt second. 911 audio third. Interior and exterior cameras before anyone touches anything. The words were calm. Too calm. Too exact. Malik stared at him like he had never heard his uncle speak in that voice. Mrs. Ross lifted her chin a little. Officer Pike lowered her notepad. You have law enforcement experience, Mr. Carter? Elijah looked at the broken window, then at the photo of his father near the register. I have experience being misunderstood. Linda laughed. That is not an answer. Elijah did not look at her. It was not for you. The room went still. A delivery driver near the soda cooler whispered, He sounds like he knows what he is doing. Linda spun toward him. He knows how to perform. That is what he knows. Ruiz stepped carefully to the counter, eyes on the receipt. Pump 4. 4218. That proves nothing, Linda snapped. It proves a transaction, Elijah said. Not character. Ruiz looked at him again. Something in that answer made him pause. Outside, the body cam on Pike's chest gave a small beep as it synced. Elijah heard it. His eyes flicked once to the device, then away. Officer Pike, he said, your camera just synced. Make sure your pre-event buffer stays attached to the file. Pike blinked. You know about that? Linda cut in fast. Why is he giving orders to police? I am not giving orders, Elijah said. I am protecting the record. You are protecting yourself. Those are not always different when someone lies. Malik's breath caught. Mrs. Ross almost smiled. Tyler, near the chips rack, lifted his phone a little higher. For a second, courage returned to the room in pieces. Ruiz turned to Pike. Check if the camera inside captured audio. Pike moved toward the coffee station monitor. Linda stepped in front of her. No, I am a caller. I am the victim. You do not let suspects control the investigation. Ruiz's jaw tightened. Ma'am, step aside. I know Councilman Barrett. Step aside. She did, but only half a step, just enough to keep her pride alive. Pike reached the small security monitor behind the counter. Malik pointed with a trembling hand. Camera 1 is inside. Camera 2 is outside. Elijah said, do not rewind from the live screen. Open the save file. The live buffer can overwrite. Pike's hand froze above the mouse. Ruiz stared at Elijah now, no longer casually. Mr. Carter, Linda's voice sliced through the moment. Enough. He is trying to confuse you with technical words. He broke my trust. He scared me. And now he is hiding city paperwork in that drawer. She lunged toward the register. Malik moved to block her, but Elijah's voice stopped him. Malik, no. Linda grabbed the drawer handle and yanked. It stuck, then slid open 3 inches. The cream envelope shifted forward. The blue city seal showed clearly now. Beside it, A dark credential wallet slid against the wood, but did not open. Ruiz saw it. Pike saw it. Linda saw it too, and her eyes sharpened with triumph. "There," she said. "What did I tell you?" Ruiz stepped closer to the drawer, his expression changing from suspicion to something quieter, more careful. He reached for his radio, thumb hovering over the button. "Dispatch," he said, still looking at Elijah. "Run the name Elijah Carter through city personnel cross-reference." Linda's smile held for 1 second. Then the security monitor behind Pike flickered, and the save footage opened on the exact frame where Linda's hand raised the metal squeegee toward the glass. The saved footage froze on Linda Mercer with the metal squeegee raised above her shoulder. For half a second, Carter Fuel went silent in a way that felt almost holy. The glass on the floor stopped sounding like damage and started looking like evidence. Officer Pike stared at the monitor. Officer Ruiz lowered his radio a fraction. Malik whispered, "That is her." Linda moved faster than anyone expected. That is not what happened. She stepped between Pike and the screen, blocking the image with her body. "He edited that. He set me up." Elijah stood several feet from the counter, hands still open, far from the computer, far from the drawer, far from anything that could be called interference. "The system time is embedded," he said. Linda spun toward him. "Stop talking like you are in charge." Her voice cracked, then sharpened. "You sell gas. You wipe counters. You do not get to lecture police." A few customers looked away. The insult found the old shape of the room again. Work shirt, oil stain, black man behind counter, loud woman with connections. Police lights outside. People knew which story was safer to believe. Linda pointed at the screen without looking at it. "That video starts after he threatened me." Pike said, "Ma'am, the frame shows you holding the squeegee." "Because he scared me." "With what?" Elijah asked. Linda's face flushed. "With his attitude." The delivery driver near the soda cooler let out a short breath, almost a laugh, then swallowed it when Linda's eyes cut toward him. "You think this is funny?" she snapped. "I know your truck. I know your company." He lowered his head. Another witness disappeared in plain sight. Ruiz stepped closer to the monitor. "Officer Pike, do not close that file." Linda grabbed her phone again. "I am calling Councilman Barrett." "That is your choice," Ruiz said. "No," Linda said. "My choice is making sure this man does not ruin my name with some gas station movie." She jabbed a finger at Elijah. "Search him. Search the drawer. He is hiding official papers. People do not hide city envelopes unless they are pretending to be somebody." Elijah's eyes moved once to Malik. A warning without words. "Stay still." Malik obeyed, but his hands trembled against the counter edge. Linda saw the fear and fed on it. And that boy is helping him. Maybe the whole family runs scams out of here. Mrs. Evelyn Ross gasped. "Linda, enough." Linda turned on her. "You want to be in my police report too, Evelyn?" Mrs. Ross's mouth closed. Her cane tapped once against the tile. Ruiz's body cam beeped again, a small electronic sound in a room full of human cowardice. Elijah heard it. "Officer Ruiz," he said, "your body cam just marked audio sync. If she's making a new allegation, keep that segment attached." Ruiz stared at him. Pike stared too. Linda's eyes narrowed. "There. See? He is coaching you. He is manipulating the investigation." "Preserving a record is not manipulation," Elijah said. "It is protection. For you. For everyone." That answer landed too cleanly. Linda hated it. She reached past Pike and slapped the monitor's power button. The screen went black. Malik stepped forward. "Hey." Pike caught his arm before he reached the counter. "Not hard. Just enough. Stay back." To the room, it looked like Malik was the one being restrained. Linda smiled again. False victory returned to her face. "There. Now maybe we can stop playing games and arrest the man who made me fear for my life." Ruiz looked at the dark monitor, then at Elijah. His radio crackled before he could speak. Dispatch came through, calm and official. "Unit 12, City Personnel Cross-Reference for Elijah Carter requires supervisor clearance. File marked restricted." Linda's smile froze, but only for a second. Then she pointed at Elijah's drawer and said, "Open it. Now. Open it. Now." Linda Mercer's voice cut through Carter Fuel like she owned the counter, the drawer, the glass, and every frightened breath inside the station. Officer Ruiz did not move right away. His radio had just said the name Elijah Carter required supervisor clearance. That should have slowed the room. Instead, Linda used the pause like a weapon. "See," she said, pointing at Elijah. "Restricted, hidden, suspicious. I told you he was pretending to be something." Elijah stood near the broken window, hands still visible, face steady under the hard fluorescent lights. "Officer, if you open that drawer, log the reason first." Linda barked a laugh. "There's again. Always giving instructions." "Procedure is not instruction," Elijah said. "It is protection." Ruiz looked at Pike. Pike looked at the drawer. Malik's hand hovered near the handle, trembling. "Do not touch it," Elijah told him softly. "Let them do it right." The words were not loud, but they carried. Mrs. Evelyn Ross lifted her eyes. Tyler Benson, near the chips rack, held his phone low but recording again. The red light was small. Brave things often are. Ruiz pulled a pair of gloves from his pocket. Officer Pike marked the drawer as a potential evidence location. Linda's smile slipped. "Why are you treating his hiding place like evidence?" "He is the suspect." Pike clicked her pen. "Because you pointed it out, ma'am." The sentence was simple, and it hit Linda harder than an argument. Ruiz opened the drawer slowly. The cream-colored envelope slid forward first. Blue city seal. No handwriting on the outside. Beneath it, the dark credential wallet shifted and tapped against the wood. Malik inhaled sharply. Linda leaned in, hungry for scandal. "Open that little wallet." Ruiz did not. He lifted the envelope by the edges and placed it on a clean section of counter. Then he saw the second object in the drawer, an old photograph of Samuel Carter standing beside a younger Elijah under the Carter Fuel sign. Both men in work shirts, both smiling, tired smiles. Behind the photo was a folded paper from the city, but only the top line showed, "Public Safety Transition." Ruiz froze. Pike saw it. Linda saw only enough to panic. "That means nothing." Elijah's eyes moved to the photograph, and his voice softened. "Careful with that one. The paper or the picture?" Ruiz asked. "Both." For a moment, the gas station seemed to remember Samuel Carter, the man who let neighbors pay later, the man who kept the lights on during storms, the man whose son now stood accused in his own station. "What do you think that envelope means? And why would Linda be so desperate to make it look like a crime before anyone reads it?" Ruiz reached for his radio again, but Linda stepped forward. No more checking. He is buying time." She turned toward the customers. "You all saw him confuse the officers. You saw him hide things." Nobody answered. Fear had a sound. It sounded like people staring at the floor. Then the security monitor behind Pike flickered back on by itself. The save file resumed from the frame where Linda raised the squeegee. The next second played. Her arms swung toward the glass. The impact had not shown yet, but the room knew what was coming. Linda lunged toward the monitor. Pike blocked her with one arm. "Step back." Linda's face changed. Not anger now. Alarm. Ruiz looked at the screen, then at the envelope, then at Elijah. "Mr. Carter," he said carefully, "is there a reason this file would require supervisor clearance?" Elijah did not answer the question. He looked at the broken window, the receipt, the camera, the frightened boy behind the counter, and finally Linda. Then he said, quiet enough to make everyone lean in, "Play the original audio." "Play the original audio." Elijah said it without raising his voice, but the words changed the room. Officer Pike looked at the monitor. Officer Ruiz looked at Elijah. Linda Mercer looked at the dark credential wallet still inside the open drawer, then at the old photograph beside the cream envelope. For the first time, she seemed less angry than afraid of what the station itself might say. Pike clicked the audio icon. Static filled Carter Fuel. Then Linda's voice came through the small speaker, sharp and entitled. "The least you can do is calm my gas." A second voice followed. Elijah's voice. "Calm. Low. Everyone be." Malik closed his eyes. He had heard those words from his uncle all his life, but through the speaker they sounded heavier, like a man holding a door shut against a storm. Then Linda's voice again. "People like you should be grateful we even stop here." The room went cold. Mrs. Evelyn Ross covered her mouth. Tyler stopped breathing with his phone in his hand. Ruiz's jaw tightened, but he did not speak. Linda reached for the monitor. Turn that off. It is private. Elijah looked at her. You made it public when you called police. The line landed clean. Linda's face hardened. Do not act noble. You have been waiting for this. Elijah's eyes moved to his father's photograph. For a moment, the gas station disappeared from his face, and something older appeared. A memory. Samuel Carter at this same counter, thinner than, coughing into a handkerchief while counting quarters for a neighbor who could not pay full price. Samuel polishing the front window after someone spray-painted a slur across it. Samuel telling Elijah, do not let bitterness run the register. It overcharges everybody. Elijah had been 24 when his father died behind that counter, one hand on the receipt drawer, the other on the old frame. The final note he left was still taped to the back. Serve people like they are somebody, even when they forget you are. Elijah had kept the station open because closing it would have felt like letting the insult win. Malik picked up the photograph with both hands. This was Grandpa Sam's place, he said, voice small but steady. She did not just break glass. Linda turned on him. Put that down before you damage evidence. It is my family, Malik said. It is evidence if I say it is, Linda snapped. Ruiz stepped between them. Ma'am, step back. Micro Hope moved through the room. Small but real. Pike saved the audio file to a new folder. Tyler lifted his phone higher. Mrs. Ross took one step toward the counter. Officer, she whispered, Samuel Carter helped half this block when nobody else would. Linda pointed at her. One more word, Evelyn, and I will make sure your statement includes bias. Mrs. Ross froze. Hope shook but did not die. Then the audio continued. The speaker crackled. Linda's voice came again, lower this time before the 911 call. If you do not learn your place, I will make police teach it to you. Ruiz's eyes snapped to Linda. Pike stopped typing. Linda went pale, then grabbed for the power cord. That is edited. Elijah did not move. The original file has the timestamp. Ruiz looked down at the old photograph, then at the cream envelope, then at Elijah with a new kind of caution. Mr. Carter, he said slowly, why does this city document carry the same seal as the Public Safety Office? Before Elijah could answer, Mrs. Ross stared at the photograph of Samuel and whispered, I remember that day. Mrs. Ross stared at the photograph of Samuel Carter and whispered, I remember that day. Every head turned toward her. Her voice was small, but it reached the broken window, the gas pumps, the officers, and the place where Elijah stood with his hands still open. Linda Mercer moved first. No, you do not. Mrs. Ross blinked. Linda, I was there. You are confused. Linda stepped closer, smiling without warmth. You are upset. You are letting old feelings cloud your memory. Officer Ruiz looked from Mrs. Ross to the photograph. Ma'am, what day? Mrs. Ross lifted one trembling finger toward the picture. The day Samuel Carter opened this station. The city sent someone. Public safety, I think. They thanked him for helping after the flood. Elijah's face tightened, but he said nothing. He did not reach for the photo. He did not reach for the envelope. He let the truth breathe without forcing it. Linda saw that patience and tried to crush it. This is ridiculous. A dead man's picture has nothing to do with him threatening me today. She pointed at Elijah. He is using sentiment to distract you. The audio says otherwise, Malik said. Linda snapped toward him. You are a child. Stay in your place. The room flinched. Tyler's phone rose half an inch. Linda saw it and raised her voice for everyone. Film this, then. Film how a local business owner harassed a woman, hid city documents, and tried to coach police officers through his own investigation. A few customers shifted again. False certainty had power. It gave frightened people somewhere to stand. Ruiz reached for the envelope. Linda cut in. Do not open that without a warrant. Pike glanced at Ruiz. She asked us to open it 5 minutes ago. Linda's face went stiff. Because I believed it was part of the threat. And now? Elijah asked. Linda looked at him with pure contempt. Now I believe you planned all of this. Her words turned the crowd cold again. Planned. Hidden. Threat. Those words stuck to Elijah's work shirt like grease. A man near the door whispered. Maybe he did know the cameras were there. Mrs. Ross turned toward him. It is his station. Of course he knows. But the damage had started. Linda had found a new story, and the crowd was trying on. Ruiz's radio crackled. Unit 12, supervisor clearance still pending. Cross-reference locked. Linda seized it. Locked. You hear that? Locked means you cannot touch it. Get him away from the drawer before he destroys whatever he is hiding. Pike stepped toward Elijah. Not aggressive, but official. Mr. Carter, move to the outside wall, please. Malik's eyes widened. He did nothing. Elijah gave him one look. Stay steady. Then he walked to the wall near the broken window, away from the receipt, away from the photograph, away from the city envelope, away from a monitor that could prove what Linda had done. Linda smiled like the room had finally remembered who mattered. Thank you, officers. Now we can do this properly. Ruiz did not smile. He kept looking at Elijah, then at the drawer, then at the frozen video frame on the monitor. The frame showed Linda mid-swing, the squeegee raised, the glass still whole for one last second. Then the monitor flashed. A warning box appeared over the image. Original file integrity, check in progress. Pike leaned closer. Linda stepped back. Elijah, standing alone by the wall, finally spoke. If the file is original, the audio will match the 911 timestamp. The words made Ruiz turn slowly. Before anyone could answer, the station phone on the counter rang, and the caller ID showed only 2 words, public safety. The phone rang again, louder than it should have. Public safety glowed on the caller ID, 2 words bright enough to make the broken glass seem dim. Officer Ruiz looked at the screen. Officer Pike looked at Ruiz. Linda Mercer looked at Elijah, and for one thin second, her confidence cracked. Then she grabbed the story back with both hands. Do not answer that, she snapped. He probably arranged it. Ruiz lifted his eyes. Ma'am, step away from the counter. No, this is how people like him do it. Confuse. Delay. Pretend to be official. She pointed at Elijah, standing near the wall, away from his own receipt, away from his own drawer, away from the photograph of his father. Look at him. Work shirt. Grease on his sleeve. Hiding city paper in a gas station drawer. You cannot tell me that is normal. The words landed in the open space like another pane of glass breaking. Nobody laughed, but nobody defended him either. A man by the cooler lowered his head. Tyler held his phone at his side, thumb shaking. Mrs. Ross opened her mouth, then closed it when Linda's eyes found her. Elijah stood still. His face did not harden. It hurt more than that. His eyes moved once to Malik, telling the boy not to answer hate with heat. Officer, Elijah said quietly. Answer the call and document it. Linda cut him off. There. Again. Giving orders. That was not an order. Everything from you sounds like one. She stepped toward the customers now, performing for them. He made me feel unsafe. He recorded me. He had files. Now he's trying to use some fake government call to scare officers out of doing their job. Ruiz reached for the phone. Before his hand touched it, the ringing stopped. The screen went dark. Linda smiled. See? Nothing. Then the monitor behind Pike chimed. The integrity check finished. A green banner appeared over the frozen frame. Original file verified. The room inhaled. Pike whispered, the footage is clean. Linda's smile vanished. Only for a moment. Then she slapped her palm on the counter. Video can be clean and still not show the threat. Ask him why he stayed calm. Ask him why he knew where every camera was. Ask him why that file is locked. Ruiz turned toward Elijah. Mr. Carter, until we confirm what is in that drawer, I need you to remain away from it. Linda pushed harder. No, detain him. If he is innocent, he can explain downtown. Malik stepped forward. You are punishing him because she is loud. Pike put a hand up. Malik, stay back. Elijah's voice softened. Malik, breathe. That broke the boy more than shouting would have. He stepped back, eyes wet with anger he was not allowed to use. Ruiz hesitated, then took out his cuffs. Not raised, not threatening, but visible. The crowd saw them. Linda saw them. Her chin lifted with false victory. Finally, Elijah looked at the cuffs, then at the receipt on the counter, then at his father's photograph beside the unopened envelope. If you do this, he said, keep the camera running. Ruiz's hand froze. Pike's body cam beeped. Outside, a second vehicle pulled into the lot without sirens. A black city SUV stopped beside the pumps. The driver's door opened. Everyone turned as a woman in a dark public safety blazer stepped into the sunlight, phone still in her hand, and shouted through the broken window, "Stop! Stop!" The woman's voice came through the broken window before her shoes touched the glass-strewn floor. The entire station turned toward her. She wore a dark public safety blazer, a city ID clipped to her lapel, and the kind of calm that made loud people sound smaller. Officer Ruiz froze with the cuffs still in his hand. Officer Pike's body cam blinked red. Linda Mercer stepped back half an inch, then caught herself and lifted her chin. "This is a private police matter," Linda said. The woman looked at the broken window, the receipt on the counter, the frozen security monitor, then Elijah Carter standing by the wall with his hands visible and his face tired but unbroken. Nothing is private after a 911 call. The room went quiet. Not solved quiet. Not safe quiet. The kind of quiet that comes when people realize they may have been standing on the wrong side of the story. Linda pointed at Elijah. "He is manipulating everyone. He has city papers in that drawer. He knew the cameras. He knew the procedure. That is not normal." Elijah did not answer her. His eyes stayed on Malik, who looked ready to break from fear. "Stay behind the counter," Elijah said softly. "You are doing fine." Malik nodded, but his hand still shook. The woman from public safety stepped to the counter. "Officer Pike, is your body cam recording?" "Yes, ma'am." "Officer Ruiz, has any evidence been altered?" Ruiz glanced at the monitor Linda had tried to shut down, then at the open drawer. No confirmed alteration. The file integrity check came back original. Linda laughed, but her voice cracked. "Original does not mean complete." "Then we watched the complete file," the woman said. Linda moved between her and the monitor. "You do not know what he did before that." Mrs. Ross gripped her cane and whispered, "I do." Everyone looked at her. Linda's face hardened. "Evelyn, do not start." Mrs. Ross swallowed, but did not look away this time. "I heard what you said before you called police." Tyler lifted his phone higher. The delivery driver stopped pretending to read the soda labels. People who had looked away began looking back. If you were standing in that gas station right now, who would you believe? The loudest voice in the room, or the quiet evidence everyone kept trying to bury? The woman from public safety reached for the cream-colored envelope. Linda grabbed the edge of it first. "That is suspicious material." Elijah's voice cut through, low and steady. "Do not tear the seal." The woman looked at him, then at the envelope. "You know what seal this is?" Elijah said nothing. That silence made Ruiz look at him longer. The woman gently pulled the envelope free and placed it beside Samuel Carter's photograph. The monitor chimed again. A new window opened over the frozen image. Audio match found. 911 timestamp linked. Linda's mouth went dry. "That can be faked." Pike shook her head. "Not from a store system and dispatch record at the same time." Linda stepped toward the power strip. "Turn it off until my lawyer gets here." Ruiz blocked her this time. Not harsh, just firm. Linda stared at him as if betrayal had put on a uniform. The public safety woman turned the monitor toward the room. The screen showed Linda with the squeegee raised, Elijah behind the counter, Malik frozen near the register, and the receipt printing at the exact second Linda claimed she was being threatened. The room held its breath. Even the pumps outside seemed to click softer. Then the woman pressed play and said, "Before you judge this man, watch what really happened." The video played, and Linda Mercer's story began dying in front of everyone. First, the receipt printer whined. Pump 4, $42.18. Then Elijah's voice came through the speaker, calm and clear. "Everyone P." Linda's voice followed, sharp enough to cut glass before the glass even broke. "People like you should be grateful we even stop here." No one moved. Tyler slowly lowered his phone. Mrs. Ross closed her eyes. Malik stared at the screen as if the truth had finally become brave enough to stand beside him. Then the footage rolled forward. Linda grabbed the metal squeegee. Elijah stayed behind the counter. His hands were visible. He did not step toward her. He did not block the door. He did not threaten anyone. Linda swung. The window shattered. The room flinched at the sound, even hearing it twice. Linda's face turned gray. That is not the whole story. Officer Pike tapped the audio file. It is the original file. Linda pointed at Elijah. He planned this. He knew exactly what to say. The public safety woman looked at her. Because he knew procedure, Linda opened her mouth, but dispatch crackled through Ruiz's radio before she could answer. Unit 12, supervisor clearance approved. Cross-reference confirmed. Ruiz's body went still. The radio continued. Elijah Samuel Carter, acting public safety chief, effective immediately under emergency transition order. Swearing in scheduled Monday at 9 a.m. Full authority over district response protocol. The words filled Carter Fuel like thunder without noise. Acting public safety chief. Officer Ruiz turned toward Elijah slowly. Officer Pike's hand fell away from her notepad. The delivery driver took off his cap. Mrs. Ross began to cry without sound. Malik looked at his uncle like he was seeing two men at once. The man who made him breakfast and the man the whole city had just named. Linda Guispert. No. The public safety woman opened the cream-colored envelope and placed the document on the counter beside Samuel Carter's photograph. The city seal shone under the fluorescent light. This confirms it, she said. Mr. Carter was appointed to lead the transition after repeated complaints about emergency response bias in this district. Ruiz straightened, not dramatically, but with instinct. Chief Carter. The title changed the air. Elijah did not smile. He looked at the broken glass, the receipt, Malik's trembling hands, and Linda standing in the mess she had made. Do not call me that to shame her, he said. Call me that to follow the law. Linda backed up one step. I did not know. Elijah looked at her, tired and steady. You did not need to know who I was to tell the truth. Pike lifted the 911 transcript. She reported a threat after the window was broken. Ruiz looked at Linda, and the audio captured her threatening to make police teach him his place. Linda searched the room for someone still willing to believe her. No one stepped forward. The public safety woman slid the verified footage, the receipt, and the 911 transcript toward Ruiz. Officer Ruiz, the evidence is clear. The victim is Elijah Carter. The caller made a false report after committing property damage. Ruiz turned to Elijah, waiting. Not because Elijah needed revenge, because the law now had to move through the man Linda had tried to erase. Elijah's voice was quiet. Proceed by policy. Officer Pike looked at Linda and said, Ma'am, turn around. Linda froze as every person in Carter Fuel watched her face the question she could no longer answer. If Elijah had not been Chief Carter, would anyone have believed him at all? Officer Pike's words did not sound loud, but they took all the air out of Carter Fuel. Ma'am, turn around. Linda Mercer stood in the middle of the broken glass, her face pale, her mouth half open, as if the room had changed languages without warning. For years, she had known how to make people move. A raised voice, a councilman's name, a police call, a look that told clerks, drivers, neighbors, and tired men behind counters exactly where she believed they belonged. Now nobody moved for her. Officer Ruiz stepped closer, professional and calm. Linda Mercer, you are being detained for criminal mischief, false reporting, disorderly conduct, and trespassing pending formal review. Linda jerked her head toward Elijah. He is doing this. He is using his title against me. Elijah stood beside the counter with the verified footage still glowing behind him, the pump receipt beside the register, the 911 transcript in Pike's hand, and his father's photograph lying under the city seal. He did not smile. No, he said. The evidence is doing this. Mrs. Ross let out a shaky breath. Tyler lowered his phone completely. The delivery driver took one step back, not away from danger, but away from shame. Everyone had seen the glass break. Everyone had heard the live form. But it had taken a badge, a file, a timestamp, and a city call to make the truth safe enough to say out loud. Linda's voice cracked. I was scared. Pike looked at the transcript. You threatened to make police teach him his place before you called 911. I was upset. Ruiz said, that is not a defense for a false report. Linda looked at Malik. Tell them he was angry. Tell them he yelled. Malik's eyes were wet. but his voice held. He told me not to touch the glass. That sentence broke something small in the room. Not in Linda. In the people who had stayed quiet. Mrs. Ross lifted her cane slightly, and he told me to step away so I would not get hurt. The public safety woman nodded to Pike. Preserve the store footage, the body cam footage, the 911 audio, the receipt, and the witness statements. No gaps. No edits. Full chain of custody. Elijah looked at her. Protect the witnesses, too. She met his eyes. That starts now. Ruiz placed the cuffs on Linda without drama. No Daphnis. No spectacle. Just procedure. The metal click was quiet, but every person heard it. Linda looked around for rescue and found only faces that had learned too late what silence had cost. You are all going to regret this, she said, but her voice had lost its throne. Elijah turned to Ruiz. Do it by the book. Ruiz nodded. Yes, Chief Carter. This time the title did not feel like a twist. It felt like the room correcting itself. Pike logged the city envelope properly. The public safety woman placed Samuel Carter's photograph back in Elijah's hands. The bent frame caught the light. Elijah ran his thumb over the old note on the back, the one his father had left for him. Serve people like they are somebody, even when they forget you are. Outside, the patrol car door closed behind Linda. Inside, Carter fuel stayed broken, but not defeated. The window was gone. The truth was not. Malik came to Elijah's side, looking at the glass, the receipt, the photograph, and the badge-shaped weight of what his uncle had never told him. What happens now, he asked. Elijah looked at the customers, at Tyler, at Mrs. Ross, at the place his father had built one honest gallon at a time. Now, he said softly, we fix more than the window. Now, Elijah said softly, we fix more than the window. The word stayed with Malik long after the broken glass was swept into a blue dustpan and sealed in an evidence bag. Carter Fuel looked wounded that afternoon. A square of plywood covered the front where sunlight used to pour across the candy rack. Yellow tape marked the floor. The coffee station sat silent. But the station was not ashamed anymore. Mrs. Ross stayed until the last officer left. Tyler stood by the door with his phone lowered, no longer hiding it, no longer using it like a shield. The public safety woman, Denise Harrow, placed the verified footage, the receipt, the 911 transcript, and Officer Pike's body cam file into a formal evidence packet. Then she turned to Elijah. Chief Carter, the record is clean. Elijah looked at the packet, then at his father's photograph in his hand. Make sure the people who spoke up are protected. Denise nodded. They will be. Malik looked at his uncle. You really mean that? Elijah rested one hand on the boy's shoulder. Truth should not cost people their peace. By Monday morning, the new glass had not arrived yet, but the light did. It came through the temporary plastic sheet in soft waves, turning the scar in the wall into something almost gentle. Elijah opened Carter Fuel at 5:12 a.m., just like always. He turned on the pumps. He checked the coffee. He straightened Samuel Carter's photograph beside the register. Only this time, beside the frame, he placed the pump receipt in a clear sleeve. Not to shame Linda, not to relive the insult, to remember that small proof can carry a large truth when people are brave enough to keep it safe. Malik came in before school, backpack over one shoulder, eyes quieter than before. Do I still stock the cooler? Elijah smiled. After breakfast. Malik smiled back. At 8, Mrs. Ross arrived with a paper bag of biscuits. For the crew, she said. Then she touched the edge of the new evidence sleeve. I should have spoken sooner. Elijah shook his head. You spoke when it mattered. Tyler came next, nervous, holding his phone with both hands. I kept the video, he said. I was scared, but I kept it. Elijah looked at him for a long moment. Fear does not erase courage. It just makes it work harder. That afternoon, Carter Fuel hosted its first community safety meeting under the canopy. Not a ceremony. Folding chairs. Coffee in paper cups. Small business owners from 3 blocks over. A laundromat clerk. A barber. A food truck owner. People who knew what it felt like to be doubted before they were heard. Denise Harrow showed them how to preserve footage, label receipts, protect witnesses, and report false claims without losing their voices. Officer Ruiz stood at the back, listening more than speaking. Officer Pike helped Mrs. Ross to a chair. Elijah did not stand on a stage. He stood beside the pump where the trouble had started, work shirt clean but simple, badge tucked inside his jacket, not displayed like a crown. This station was built by a man people underestimated, he said. He taught me that dignity is not something someone gives you at the counter. It is something you refuse to surrender. A young delivery driver raised his hand. What if nobody believes us? Elijah looked toward the repaired window being lifted into place. Then we build systems that do not depend on who looks powerful. As the glass settled into the frame, sunlight caught Samuel Carter's photograph through the window. Malik opened the door for an elderly customer, took her keys, and said, "Good morning, ma'am. How can we help?" Elijah watched him, the receipt safe beside the register, the old photograph steady in its frame, the station breathing again. The place where someone tried to break his dignity became the place where the neighborhood learned to protect its own, and the kindness Samuel Carter planted kept moving from hand to hand.